Today, we're diving into something I think a lot of us feel pretty deeply. This very modern tension between our personal ambitions and the work of raising children. It's a real conflict for so many people. So let's get into it. So let's just start with a really big question, the one that kind of frames this whole thing. In a life that's packed with deadlines and demands and our own dreams, what is our most important work? It sounds simple, but the answer, well, it's anything but. Just keep that question in the back of your mind as we go. Okay, first up, this idea of a modern pressure, because there's something really unique about our culture today, a certain expectation that hangs in the air. And it's this. Our world, for the most part, measures success by how productive we are, you know? Think about it. How often do we define our own worth, or feel like others are defining it for us, by what we get done, what we accomplish? This pressure, it goes way beyond just our jobs. It's baked right into our culture. And this is exactly where that pressure creates a problem. The source material points to what it calls a modern tendency, this subtle but really powerful way of seeing our own kids as potential roadblocks to our productivity or our ambition. Suddenly they can feel less like this source of joy and more like, well, something you have to work around. So let's dig into this first viewpoint, which the source labels the distraction mindset. And it's not just presented as one way of thinking, it's framed as a common mistake that we can fall into. You know, what I find fascinating here is just how direct that language is. It doesn't just describe a behavior, it flat out calls it a mistake. That's a really strong choice of words, right? It's suggesting that seeing our kids as a distraction from our real work isn't just a mindset, it's a fundamental error in judgment. And it's probably worth pausing for a second on what distraction even means. I mean, by definition, it's something that pulls your attention away from what you're supposed to be doing. So when we slap that label on a child, we're saying, without even realizing it, that they are an interruption to a more important task. This really sums it all up, doesn't it? Our ambition, our work, that's the main road. But in this mindset, our children become these constant interruptions, these obstacles that block the path. They become the challenge you have to somehow manage or get around, just so you can get back to the work you feel actually defines you. But, and this is important, the source doesn't just point out the problem and leave us there. It offers up what it calls a virtuous counterpoint, a totally different way of looking at the whole thing, called the sacred work mindset. And here is the absolute core of that other view. It's not just about trying not to see kids as distractions. It's about completely reframing the entire job of raising them. The source uses this incredible phrase, sacred work. That just changes the game, doesn't it? It takes parenting off the to-do list and puts it on a whole other level. So what does this sacred work actually look like? Well, the source breaks it down into two key actions, practicing nurture and practicing guidance. And that word practicing is so important. These aren't things you just do once. They're active, ongoing efforts. The work itself becomes about helping them grow and showing them the way. That becomes the central focus, not some side project. I mean, just think about the weight of that word, sacred. It means something you treat with the highest respect, with reverence. So if raising children is seen this way, it literally can't be a distraction from something more important, because by its very definition, it's already the thing of highest importance. Okay, so this brings us right to the heart of it, really. It all boils down to a fundamental question of value. Let's put these two mindsets right next to each other and see what this conflict is really about. And when you put them side by side like this, the difference is just, well, it's stark. On one side, you've got a mindset where kids are measured against outside goals, your productivity, your ambition. But on the other side, the act of raising them, that nurture, that guidance, is the primary goal. It's a huge shift from seeing them as being in the way of the work to seeing them as being the work. So when you boil it all down, the source is really laying out a choice for us. It's a choice between two completely different systems for measuring what truly matters in our lives. And so that's the big question I want to leave you with. In a culture that is constantly screaming at us to be more productive, to have higher ambitions, how do we as individuals decide for ourselves what is truly valuable? What work for each of us is sacred?